Hey everybody, this is 8-Bit Flashback, and today I'll be demonstrating 225 games on the PlayStation Classic using BleemSync 0.4.1. Plus, I will also be talking about the upcoming new BleemSync version 1.0 that has a lot of new features that will make the PlayStation Classic what it should have been all along. So with this setup, I can either use Retroarch or BleemSync, which is what I'm going to demo right now. And the theme I'm using is a Metal Gear Solid theme that I modified slightly with a PlayStation background to give it a more official look. And for the 225 games, what I've done is combine 3 different builds together from Arcade Man on YouTube, the 64GB build and the Hidden Gems Volumes 1 and 2, and added these to a 128GB USB flash drive. And starting here in just a few, I'll be scrolling through all 225 games with text in the left corner to separate what games are in each build. So these builds are ready to go, meaning all you have to do is just download them and extract the contents to a compatible USB flash drive that's formatted in FAT32 and name the drive Sony in all capital letters. Then plug the flash drive into a powered off PlayStation Classic and Player Port 2 and power it on and you're good to go. But not all flash drives are compatible and other issues might keep it from working. And for this video, I will not be doing a tutorial, but I will be doing a demonstration showing all 3 of these builds working together. But if you are wanting to know more details about these custom builds, be sure to check out Arcade Man on YouTube for more details. And here's a couple tips for anyone out there that's going to try any of these custom builds out. More than likely, they will be in a torrent file format, and I use a program that's called uTorrent, and this is a free program. And I was running into some issues with these downloads being really slow, saying they take like 42 weeks. But I did find out if I go to Options, then Preferences, and then Bandwidth and change my settings to exactly these settings, that I had a lot better luck and I could get my downloads done in usually about 2 days. But I would suggest to only mess with these settings if you're having issues with your download speeds. If your speeds are good to go like they are, then I would just leave these settings alone. And if you're looking to combine a couple builds together, it's fairly easy to do, but there is a little bit of work involved. For myself, I started with the 64GB build, which includes 104 games. So after extracting all the contents from that 64GB download to my USB flash drive, there's going to be a folder called Games, and inside there is going to be where all my games are located, and I have 104 different games. Then what I did is I extracted only the games from the Games folder on the other 2 builds and separated these into 2 new folders, and these folders can be named whatever you want, they just can't have the same name as the original Games folder. Then I had to rename each game folder to go in sequence, start with number 105 and ending with 229 because I had 104 original games and now we have to add every game after that to go in order. So I've already renamed 60 different game folders and now I'm on 165 with another 65 to go. So this is definitely the hardest part about combining a couple different builds together. And once you get all those game folders renamed properly to go in the right sequence, it's time to add your new games to the existing games folder for that 64GB build. So after adding all the new games to the games folder, I should have a count of 229 games. But not to make this confusing, 4 of these games are not going to be visible because they have errors. And that has to do with the original 64GB build. Folders 62, 67, 82, and 93 have issues, so they will not be visible, giving you an actual count of 225 games. Now after adding all those games, it's time to go to the BleemSync folder and click on that, and then go down to the BleemSync application and click on that. And this is going to sync all the new games we've just added. Without doing this, the games will not be recognized when we plug in our flash drive, so this step is crucial for the new games. So basically, anytime you add games to that games folder or take away games from that games folder, you're going to have to go back to that BleemSync application and click on that to sync up the new game setup. Now let's talk about the new BleemSync version 1.0 that will be released on Wednesday, January 23rd. Right now, it's no big secret that the PlayStation Classic does not do a good job emulating PlayStation games. But now, thanks to various different people in the hacking community, the emulation is going to get a lot better, and there's going to be some nice cool features added as well. So let's go over some of the updates. The added ability to load the original 20 games on the EMC into the stock UI, including your customs. So what that means is when we're playing games on a USB flash drive, we'll be able to see the original 20 games and play those as well. Also added is the ability to sort the games alphabetically so we can get those games nice and organized, and this will be a really nice feature, especially if you have a bunch of different games. It'll be a lot easier to find a certain game now. The added ability to easily load custom UI themes, so it's going to be a lot easier to add custom themes now, and the ability to randomize the themes on boot. In this next update, which I'm probably the most excited about, and I think this is the biggest and most important one, is the ability to play all the PlayStation games from that stock UI with the Retroarch Emulator. So no longer do we have to use that crappy built-in emulator, we can now use the Retroarch PC SX emulator to play all the PlayStation games. And trust me, with some games it definitely makes a huge difference, and I'll be demonstrating that here in a few with the game Batman Forever. And a couple other features that will be added is support for save states and save files when launching games via the Retroarch PlayStation Emulator, and physical console button support to emulate the stock PlayStation Emulator. So what that means is when you're playing games using the Retroarch Emulator, when you push the reset or the power button, it should act very similar to how it acts when you're using the stock emulator. So let's go ahead and test a few games out, and I'm not going to test very many games because I'm going to wait for BleemSync 1.0 to come out because we're going to have a lot better results once that comes out. Now I know I've been talking all this talk about the built-in emulator not being that good, and it's true, it's not. But there is some games that play okay, like this game right here. It seems to play just fine. But there is some games that play horrible, and we'll be demonstrating that here in just a few. It's pretty crazy and hard to understand why Sony did this. Why did they release a console that seems to be half done, especially when it seems to have hardware that is capable? It seems that hackers are doing what Sony don't. So here's an example of bad emulation on the PlayStation Classic using the built-in emulator. And if you look on the bottom left corner, you can see the frames per second, and it's averaging anywhere from 20 to 15 frames per second, which is horrible. This is supposed to be at 60 frames per second. But if we use Retroarch and play the same game, the game plays at almost 60 frames per second the whole time. So it does a lot better job. And just to let you know, when I was playing this game using the stock emulator, I did try changing some of the settings. I tried to force it into NTSC mode and some various other settings, and the frames per second would not go higher than 20 frames per second. So it seems to be locked at 20 frames per second or lower, which makes that game play so bad. Okay, it's time for me to go, but I will keep you updated with BleemSync 1.0 once that releases. I'll be making some videos about that as well. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time. And if you like that video, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe.